Okay. Hi, good day everyone. My name is Attorney Laika Coral, and I will be your professor for CLJ 4 or the Revised Penal Code Book 2. So ngayon, ang memo na nakarating sa amin ay mag-meet tayo once a week na lang, which is on Wednesday. Diba that's our schedule? So yung schedule natin ng Monday ay naka-asynchronous. So like this, pwedeng mag-upload ako ng mga video lectures or magpapagawa na lang ako ng mga assignments or activities, whether individual or by group. So ang intention of the asynchronous activities ay para self-paced, yung mga bata, yung mga estudyante on how they will learn the subject. Okay, so sa ngayon, since this is the first lesson for RPC Book 2, discuss muna natin yung first chapter ng RPC, ng RPC Book 2, which is yung Crime Against National Security and the Law of Nations. So, I will be sharing my screen. Okay, so yung first chapter ng Book 2 ng Revised Penal Code ay yung Crimes Against National Security and the Law of Nations. And yung chapter na to ay further divided into three sections, which is yung section 1 ay yung treason and espionage. So simulan natin sa Article 114 or yung treason. So, okay, before discussing pala yung mga crimes na punishable under Revised Penal Code, one of the principles na kailangan yung tandaan ay that lahat ng mga crimes na yon comprises of elements. Okay, so before a person can be held liable for a specific offense, for a specific crime punishable under the Revised Penal Code, dapat nandoon lahat ng elements. Otherwise, hindi siya pwedeng i-punish uh, under that particular law or under that particular crime. So halimbawa, um, okay, sa parricide is a form of killing, 'di ba? So sa parricide, ito yung kapag pinatay mo yung ascendant, parents, descendant, mga anak mo, or yung mga legitimate brothers and sisters. Ngayon, ang one of the elements of parricide ay relationship between the offender and the victim. If hindi mo mapoprove yung relationship between the offender and the victim, then hindi siya papasok as parricide. Okay, so pwede siyang pumasok bilang homicide or bilang murder as the case may be. So ngayon, ang pinopoint out lang natin dito kasi as you can see on the screen, nakikita nyo na yung treason but below it yung mga elements. Ngayon, kapag ang isa dito ay ah, wala sa kaso, hindi na prove ng prosecution, then that particular act will not constitute as a treason. Okay? So ngayon, let's discuss the elements of treason. The first one is that the offender is a Filipino citizen or an alien residing in the Philippines. Pangalawa, that there is a war in which the Philippines is involved. And pangatlo, that the offender either levies war against the government or second, or adheres to the enemies by giving them aid or comfort. So, yung treason po is a breach of allegiance to a government committed by a person who owes allegiance to it. So, pag sinabi nating allegiance, ito yung obligation natin of loyalty, of fidelity, ano ba, of obedience to the state or to the government or to the country kung saan tayo nakatira. 'Di ba meron tayong principle na tinatawag na parens patriae. So, the government shall serve as our parents kasi sila yung nagbibigay sa atin ng security, ng protection, sila nagbibigay ng mga rights and mga privileges. So in exchange of that, we also have the obligation now to obey them, to to obey them, to be faithful, to be loyal to the country kung saan tayo nakatira, and kung sino nagbibigay ng ganong mga pribilehiyo sa atin. Okay, so ngayon kapag hindi mo sinunod yung loyalty or yung allegiance na yon, now that is already a breach of allegiance. Okay, so isang element na yon ng treason. So ngayon, yung allegiance po ay maaaring permanent or temporary. So as Filipino citizens, citizen ka ng Pilipinas, you have a permanent allegiance to the Philippines kasi nga dito ka nakatira, ikaw ay citizen dito. So po pinaprotektahan ka, binibigyan ka ng mga karapatan at ng mga pribilehiyo. At the same time, yung mga aliens naman na nagtatrabaho or nandito sa Pilipinas, residing in the Philippines, owes at the same time temporary allegiance to the Philippines. Hence, kapag may ginawa sila against the Philippine government, the state, then they may also be held liable for treason. And pangatlong consideration po ay treason cannot be committed in time of peace. So yung treason po is a war crime. Okay, so hindi siya all-time offense. So sa ngayon, since wala namang war dito sa Pilipinas, then treason cannot be, walang pwedeng ma-prosecute ng treason as of the moment. Kasi wala naman tayong gera na kasama yung Philippines. Okay, so now, there are two ways of committing treason. The first one is by levying war. So pag sinabi nating levying war, ito yung pag-aalsa against the government. Okay, so in order also to prove na merong levying war or pag-aalsa against the government, kailangan din natin ng dalawang requirements. Yung una ay dapat mayroong pagtitipon ng mga tao. And pangalawa, their purpose ng pagtitipon na yun ay para umalsa, para gumawa ng mga treasonable acts. Okay, at the same time, um, yung paglevy ng war should be in collaboration with the foreign country or with the enemy of the Philippines. Kasi kapag civil uprising lang yan, kapag parang tinatanong mo lang or question mo lang yung mga decisions ng government, that it will not constitute treason. Dapat i-prove din na ginagawa yun para paboran o in collaboration o doon sa kabilang or sa enemy country kinakuha. Another way of committing treason ay by adhering to the enemies by giving them aid or comfort. Now, kapag sinabing aid or comfort, ito yung mga actions na nag-strengthen or tends to strengthen yung enemy country. At the same time, it weakens or tends to weaken yung defense ng Philippines. Ano ba yung mga halimbawa ng adhering to the enemies by giving them aid or comfort? So halimbawa, nagbibigay ka ng inside information, ikaw ay nagsisilbing spy. Filipino citizen ka, kinontrata ka ng Philippines to defend the state, but nililik mo yung information na alam mo doon sa enemy country. That's adhering to the enemies by giving them aid or comfort. Another thing is nagbibigay ka ng mga armas or nagbibigay ka ng transportation doon sa enemy country. It is also treason. Okay, so what about ma'am, uh, nagbibigay ka lang or nagtitinda ka ng tubig? During World War II, isa kang manggagawa na nagbebenta ng tubig. So, will that constitute treason? No, kasi it will not strengthen the enemy. At the same time, yung water na yon is not, uh, hindi siya exclusively for war na gagamitin, 'di ba? So at the same time, halimbawa naman since matagal dito yung Japanese, halimbawa naging friend mo na yung yung mga sundalo sa kabilang bansa, no? So yung friendship na yon or yung close relationship na yon will not also strengthen the um yung defense ng kabila kasi wala ka namang overt act na sinasabi na ginagawa para mapalakas yung kanilang pag-atake or kanilang depensa. Okay, so ngayon, ito yung mga paraan para masabing maaaring makonvict yung isang tao sa treason. The first one is that tinatawag nating two-witness rule. Sa treason kasi this is very strict na i-prosecute siya. So, for a single act, kailangan may dalawang witness to prove na nangyari yung ganong actions. Okay? So, halimbawa, si Juan ay na-prosecute for treason. So, merong mga witnesses. Halimbawa, merong witness sa prosecution, meron siyang witness si Pedro at si Jose. Now, si Pedro, ang tinestify niya ay nung January 1, nakita niya si Pedro na pumunta siya doon sa kalabang bansa para i-reveal yung mga information na alam niya. At the same time, si Jose, ganun din yung tenor ng kanyang testimony. Nung January 1 din yung nakita, January 1 niya din nakita. That's two witness rule. So what about ang tinestify ni Pedro ay nakita niya si Jose nung January 1, nakita niya si Juan nung January 1, samantalang si Jose naman, ang tinestify niya ay nakita niya si Juan nung January 10. Masasatisfy ba natin yung two witness rule? Hindi. Kasi yung tinestify ng dalawang witnesses ay hindi nagre-refer sa one and the same offense. Okay, so sa one offense or one act of treason, dapat dalawa yung witness to prove na ginawa ayun ng offender and para ma-prosecute siya effectively. Nakuha po. So, another way para ma-convict yung isang individual to treason ay kapag nag-confess siya sa korte. So, hindi po pwedeng nahuli lang siya ng mga pulis at nag-confess siya doon sa presinto. Hindi yan, hindi yan enough para ma-convict yung offender. Kailangan mag-confess siya sa open court or in front of the judge during trial. Okay, so I hope you understand yung concepts ng treason. Now, let's move to Article 115, which is yung conspiracy and proposal to commit treason. Napag-usapan nyo na during CLJ 3 yung concepts ng conspiracy and proposal. Generally, yung conspiracy and proposal to commit an offense is not punishable. Okay? But for this specific provision, yung conspiracy po and proposal to commit treason is punishable under Article 115 of the Revised Penal Code. So now, pag sinabi natin conspiracy, ito yung kapag at the time of war, two or more persons come to an agreement, nag-agree sila na, bakit may, nag-agree sila na magleleve sila ng war against the government and by adhering to the enemies by giving them aid or comfort. Okay, at the same time, may proposal to commit treason kapag at the time of war, a person na nag-decide na mag-levy ng war or mag-alsa against the government o mas paboran yung kabilang bansa or yung enemy country ay pinopose niya ito sa ibang tao. Okay, so tandaan po na generally hindi punishable yung conspiracy and proposal. But under Article 115, punishable po siya. Now, let's move to Article 116 or this is the misprision of treason. So, ano ba yung elements natin ng misprision of treason? The first one is that the offender must be owing allegiance to the government and not a foreigner. The second one is that he has knowledge of any conspiracy to commit treason. And the third one is that he conceals or that does not disclose and make known the same to the authorities. So, yung first element dito ay dapat nag-o-owe siya ng allegiance to the government. So, this refers to the Filipino citizens. And specifically, hindi po kasama dito yung foreigner. Unlike doon sa treason, kung saan kasama pa rin yung mga foreigners para maging foreigner or aliens can be held liable for treason, but dito po sa misprision of treason, hindi sila pwedeng maging liable. Now, the second element is that meron silang alam about the conspiracy. So, conspiracy, di ba, parang two or more persons come to an agreement na gagawin nila yung mga acts punishable under Article 114, tapos ginawa nila yon. And pangatlo ay, despite ng knowledge na alam nila yung conspiracy, hindi nila ito pinag-alam or hindi nila ni-report sa authorities. Now, what if ang knowledge niya or ang kaalaman niya ay hindi about conspiracy but about the treason itself. Papasok ba siya sa misprision of treason? Hindi na siya papasok. Kasi ang punishable dito sa second element, sinasabi na yung knowledge is about conspiracy. Now, kapag nangyari na yung treason, hindi na po siya under Article 116. Kasi conspiracy lang po. Ang knowledge about conspiracy lang yung pinapunish under Article 116. I hope it's clear. Now, Um, let's go to Article 117 which is yung espionage. So pag sinabi pong espionage, ito po yung offense by gathering, transmitting, or losing information respecting to the defense of our national defense of the Philippines and with the intent or reason to believe that the information is to be used to the injury of the Republic of the Philippines or to the advantage of the foreign nation. So, ibig sabihin po nito, ito yung mga instances kung saan ginagather, tinatransmit, kino-collect yung mga information tungkol sa pagdepensa, national defense ng Philippines and para ibigay ito sa kalaban. Okay? So, ngayon, there are two ways of committing espionage. The first one is that uh, pumasok ka you by entering without authority sa warship, sa fort, sa naval or military establishment or reservation to obtain any information, plans, photographs, or other data of confidential nature relative to the defense of the Philippines. The second way of committing espionage is by disclosing to the representative of the foreign nation the contents of the articles, data, or information referred to in paragraph number 1 of Article 117 which he had on his possession by reason of the public office he holds. So dito sa pangalawang way of committing espionage is that ang liable dito ay public officer. So because of his public office, meron siyang alam tungkol sa national defense or tungkol sa mga confidential information about the national defense. And ni-reveal niya ito doon sa sa enemy country ng Philippines. So, ngayon, di ba like what I've said a while ago, um, espionage is committed by yung parang transmitting, collecting, yung mga information tungkol sa national defense. So what if an individual pumunta siya sa fort, sa naval, pumunta siya doon para picturean lang yung mga artifacts, yung mga equipment ng Philippines. So will that constitute espionage? So if yung taong yon ay wala namang intention para kunin yung mga information tungkol sa national defense, then basically he will not be liable for espionage. Okay, so okay. So, yung section 2 po, refers naman sa provoking war and disloyalty in cases of war. So, yung Article 118, this refers to inciting to war or giving motives for reprisals. The elements of Article 118 are as follows. The first one is that the offender performs unlawful or unauthorized acts. Pangalawa ay that such acts provoke or give occasion for a war involving or liable to involve the Philippines or expose Filipino citizens to reprisals in their persons or property. So ano bang halimbawa nito? Halimbawa, pumunta si Trump sa Pilipinas. Tapos, sinira mo yung flag on his face, sinira mo yung flag ng US or sinira mo yung seal nila which represents the United States. So basically, those acts are unlawful and those acts are unauthorized. And it will also trigger them kasi nga yung flag or yung seal nila symbolizes yung US. Now, another example, dahil sobrang galit ka kay Trump, sinuntok mo siya. So, ang intent mo lang ay wala ka namang intent para magkaroon ng war between the US and the Philippines. Ang intent mo lang ay para mailabas mo yung emotion mo, yung galit mo sa kanya. So, your motive is actually immaterial. Okay? So, even if wala ka namang motibo para magkaroon ng giyera between sa dalawang bansa. But since that act will incite war, kasi of course, matitrigger nun yung US, matitrigger nun yung mga US citizens, kasi yun yung highest official sa USA, di ba? So with that, magiging liable ka under Article 118 ng Revised Penal Code. Okay, so Article 119 naman ay violation of neutrality. So the first element is that there is a war in which the Philippines is involved, that there is a regulation, that there is a war in which the Philippines is dapat not involved dito ha. There is a war in which the Philippines is not involved. Second one is that there is a regulation issued by a competent authority for the purpose of enforcing neutrality. So that the offender violates such regulation. So halimbawa, there is a war between Korea and Japan, hypothetically. So, meron nag-issue ng regulation yung Pilipinas, yung Philippine government, that yung Philippines will stay neutral. So, despite such regulation, dinisobey mo yon. So, parang pinapakita mo sa lahat, yung grupo niya pinapakita na in favor kayo sa kabilang or sa isang country. Okay, so with that, since nag-issue na ng regulation yung Philippine government that the Philippines will stay neutral, but despite the regulation, you violated it, then you will be held liable under Article 119 of the RPC. Okay, so Article 120 naman, this refers to the correspondence with hostile countries. So the elements here are as follows. The first one is that it is in the time of war in which the Philippines is involved. The second one is that the offender makes a correspondence with an enemy country, excuse me, or territory occupied by enemy troops. The third one is that the correspondence is either prohibited by the government, the carried on in ciphers or conventional signs, three, containing notice or information which might be useful to the enemy. So, halimbawa, meron ng gera between the Philippines and the US, hypothetically. So, ngayon, may kakilala ka or may kaibigan ka na taga-US, tapos nagsulat ka, nag-chat ka, or nag-message ka sa kanya. And then, yung pakikipag-usap sa mga tao na taga-US una ay prohibited ng Pilipinas, ng government ng Philippines, or the information or yung correspondence na sinad mo sa kanya contains information tungkol sa defense ng Philippines or that are helpful to the enemy country, then you will be liable for Article 120 of the RPC. Now, ma'am, what about po kapag yung correspondence or yung chat naman ay safe naman? Parang wala naman pong tungkol sa defense, wala namang tungkol sa mga gera-gerang ganyan. So, if the correspondence is prohibited by the government. So even if walang nakalagay doon about the defense, about the military, or about anything related doon sa gera, still it will still be punishable because there is a possibility kahit onte na baka makapag-share ka ng any information na makakaapekto sa depensa ng Pilipinas. Okay, so kapag prohibited siya ng government, then it will be absolute. So wala pong exceptions for that. Now, Article 121 naman refers to the flight to enemy's country. So dito, merong war ulit in which the Philippines is involved, that the offender is owing allegiance to the government, so basically Filipino citizen. The third one is that the offender attempts to flee or go to the enemy country. So, gusto mong pumunta sa enemy country, and yung pagpunta doon ay absolutely prohibited by competent authority. Then, kapag gusto pumunta ka pa rin despite the prohibition, despite the regulation, then punishable siya under Article 121 of the RPC. Now, Section 3 refers to piracy and mutiny on the high seas or in the Philippine waters. The Article 122 refers to the piracy in general and mutiny on the high seas or in Philippine water. So there are two ways of committing piracy. The first one is by attacking or seizing vessel on the high seas or in Philippine waters. So just imagine sa merong barko sa Mindanao Seas. Tapos merong mga troops na pinapahinto sila. Umakyat sila sa barko. Tapos ginawa nilang hostage yung mga pasahero and yung mga crew. Tapos they took control doon sa kung saan na patungo or kung saan na pupunta. Then that's one way of committing piracy. The second one is that by seizing the vessel while on the high seas or in the Philippine waters, the whole or part of the cargo, its equipment or personal belongings of its complement or passenger. So halimbawa, may cruise. No, so may mga armed men na umakyat doon sa barko and pumunta sila doon para nakawin yung mga gadgets, mga alahas, mga damit, mga personal effects. That is also a way of committing piracy. Now, ito po yung elements ng piracy in general. So the first one is that the vessel is on high seas or the Philippine waters. Second is that the offender are not member of its complement or the passenger of the vessels. And then the third one is that the offenders attack or seize the vessel or seize the whole or part of the cargo of the said vessel, its equipment or personal belongings of its complement or passenger. So ito po yung elements ng piracy. So tandaan po na kapag piracy, ang offender ay hindi pasahero or hindi crew ng barko. On the other hand naman, kapag ito ay mutiny, ah ang offender doon ay crew ng barko kung saan china-challenge niya yung authority ng mga higher official doon sa cruise or doon sa barko kung saan siya nagtatrabaho or kung saan or siya mismo yung nag-hostage or siya mismo yung nag-exert ng force or ng violation sa mga taong nandoon sa barko. So that's the difference po of piracy and mutiny. Now, this is the last article uh, under dun sa crimes against national security, there's the qualified piracy. So, sinabing qualified piracy kasi mas mataas yung punishment kapag nandito yung mga circumstances na ito. Um, of course, yung elements ay dapat present pa rin. Pero kapag una, whenever, kapag nandito yung mga circumstances sa kaso, then it will constitute as qualified piracy. The first one is whenever the offenders have seized the vessel by boarding or firing upon the same. So halimbawa, yung barko para makapasok yung mga armed person, pinagbabaril nila. So that's already qualified piracy. Or another circumstance para masabing qualified siya ay yung mga pirata ay iniwan yung mga biktima without means of saving themselves. So, di ba parang kinuha nila yung kapitan or yung paano mag-navigate papunta doon sa shore. So, the passengers and the crew do not know na kung paano nila i-save yung sarili nila. The third one is kapag during whenever the crime is accompanied by murder, by homicide, physical injuries, or rape. So kapag yung mga armadong tao ay pumasok doon sa vessel or doon sa cargo and because of that may pinatay rin sila, may binugbog, nag-exert sila ng violence or intimidation or may ni-rape sila. That's also the last circumstance para masabing merong qualified piracy. So that ends the discussion doon sa the first chapter ng Revised Penal Code. Thank you and have a good day.